Most men misunderstand what it means to be mysterious. They think it's about playing games, acting distant, or pretending to be someone they're not. They confuse confusion with mystery. But women don't chase confusion. They chase depth. Mystery is not about being unreadable. It's about being unfazed. It's not about being cold. It's about being composed. The truly mysterious man doesn't hide who he is. He just doesn't feel the need to explain it. He doesn't overshare. He doesn't fill every silence. He's not constantly trying to prove his value. And because of that, women feel a pull. They feel curiosity. They wonder who he really is, not because he's acting, but because he's still. This is the Stoic version of mystery. It doesn't come from manipulation. It comes from mastering your own energy. Because when you stop offering your story to everyone, when you stop reacting to every emotion, when you stop needing to be seen, you become seen more. The first principle of being mysteriously masculine is this: you are not obligated to explain yourself. Most men try to preemptively justify every action, every opinion, every silence, as if they owe everyone an explanation. But the Stoic man understands that clarity does not require commentary. He moves with intention, not with apology. He knows what he's doing, and he doesn't need the world's approval before he does it. When you remove the habit of over-explaining, something powerful happens. You create emotional space. She starts wondering. She begins to fill in the blanks. And in that space, mystery grows. Silence becomes seductive. Not because you're withholding, but because you're grounded. You're not hiding, you're holding. Holding your energy. Holding your pace. Holding your words. This doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means speaking when you mean it. Acting when you've decided. Moving with intention, not insecurity. Mystery isn't about saying less for the sake of being unclear. It's about saying less because your energy already said everything. The second trait of a mysteriously masculine man is unpredictability, not in behavior, but in depth. Most men are flat. You know everything about them within 5 minutes. They try too hard to be liked. They reveal too much too soon, and they become emotionally obvious. But the Stoic man, he reveals himself slowly. He lets his story unfold over time. He doesn't try to impress. He lets her earn access, piece by piece. This is the paradox of being intriguing. The more you hold back, the more curious she becomes, because now she has to work to understand you. And anything that requires effort becomes valuable. You're not playing games. You're simply not in a rush. You're not afraid of being misunderstood. You're not desperate to be known. You let the mystery do the pulling. When she asks questions, you give just enough to keep her engaged, never enough to satisfy all her curiosity. And this slow reveal, it creates anticipation, tension, intrigue. That's how mystery works. Not by being confusing, but by being measured. Because the man who doesn't give it all away becomes the one she can't stop thinking about. If you're ready to master your presence and unlock true attraction, hit subscribe and tap the bell. This journey is just getting started. The third trait of a mysteriously masculine man is emotional self-containment. This is where most men fail. They overshare. Not just information, but emotion. They think vulnerability means dumping every thought and feeling. But what it really does is collapse the tension. Stoic masculinity doesn't mean being cold. It means being measured. When you speak about your feelings, it's with clarity, precision, strength. You're not venting to be saved. You're revealing selectively, with purpose. This makes you feel emotionally solid. Women don't want to decode a chaotic man. They want to feel the strength of someone who can experience emotion without leaking it. All over the room. So instead of saying, "I've been going through a lot lately," the Stoic man says, "I've had a few challenges. I handle them." No drama, no detail, just composure. This kind of restraint creates polarity. It builds intrigue. She knows there's depth, but she has to earn access to it. And that process? It makes her lean in. Because the more emotionally contained you are, the more safe she feels. Not just physically, but energetically. That's the paradox. You don't reveal everything to connect. You reveal less. and let her desire do the rest. The fourth trait of being mysterious without playing games is purposeful silence. Most men are afraid of silence. They try to fill every gap with words, jokes, explanations, anything to avoid tension. But the mysterious man doesn't run from silence. He uses it, owns it, commands it. Silence is not the absence of communication, it's the presence of confidence. When you sit in stillness, hold eye contact, and let a moment breathe, you're doing something most men can't. You're showing that you're not afraid of being felt, not just heard. Think of it like this. When you speak constantly, you dilute your presence. But when you speak deliberately, with space between your words, everything you say gains weight. She listens more closely. She feels your energy more deeply. You don't need to tell her your whole story. You don't need to win her with wit. You let your energy speak, slowly, intentionally, and only when necessary. This is what creates emotional gravity. She starts to feel like there's more to you, not because you said it, but because you didn't. Because mystery isn't about what you hide. It's about what you withhold. Not out of fear, but out of power. The fifth trait of a mysterious Stoic man is minimal disclosure. Most men overshare. They think transparency will build trust, that opening up instantly will spark connection. But what it actually does is remove all intrigue. It floods the space before tension can build. And tension, emotional, psychological, sexual, is what keeps her drawn to you. Mysterious men don't unload their life stories. They don't give away their values, traumas, and intentions right away. Not because they're hiding anything, but because they value earned intimacy. Here's the principle. Only reveal what has been earned. When you speak, do so with depth, but don't fill in all the blanks. Let her wonder. Let her ask. Let her invest. When she asks about your past, don't narrate it like a resume. Give glimpses. Let your tone suggest there's more. When she wants to know what you're thinking, don't spill everything. Say something simple. I'm processing. Still deciding. You'll find out. These aren't deflections. They're invitations. Invitations for her to keep leaning in, keep guessing, keep feeling her way toward your inner world. A Stoic man understands that the power of presence lies in what's unspoken, and a mysterious man doesn't talk to fill silence. He speaks only to shift energy. You don't need to tell her everything to be understood. You need to say just enough to be remembered. The sixth trait of a mysterious Stoic man is emotional unpredictability, not in the form of instability, but in the refusal to be emotionally decoded too quickly. Most men are emotionally obvious. Their highs are loud, their lows louder. They try to be open, thinking this transparency will deepen the connection. But instead, it removes all challenge. There's no depth, no unfolding, no edge. The mysterious man doesn't display emotion on demand. He's not cold, he's composed. He feels everything, but he filters what he reveals. His emotional responses are measured, intentional, restrained. He doesn't laugh at every joke. He doesn't react to every tease. He doesn't rise to every provocation. He chooses when to show warmth, when to stay still, when to speak, when to withdraw. This keeps her off balance, but in the most captivating way. It makes her lean in, trying to read you, trying to unlock you. And that effort, that energy she spends wondering. That's the foundation of tension, of curiosity, of emotional investment. Unpredictability isn't about being erratic. It's about being sovereign, never too available, never too revealing, never too eager to satisfy her emotional cravings on cue. Because when she can't predict you, she starts to pursue you, not for what you've shown her, but for what she thinks is still hidden. And that chase is exactly where the mystery becomes magnetic. The seventh trait that deepens a man's mystery is selective availability, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. The mysterious man isn't glued to his phone. He doesn't always reply instantly. He doesn't make himself endlessly accessible, not out of strategy, but out of purpose. He's a man with a life, a mission, and his attention is earned, not expected. When a man is always available, his presence becomes predictable, and predictability erodes tension. But when you're selective with when, how, and why you engage, she starts to value your presence more. Because now it's not a guarantee, it's a privilege. This selective availability isn't about pretending to be busy. It's about actually being invested in something greater than her. Your craft, your discipline, your solitude, your growth. It's about making your world so rich and full that she feels invited into it, not entitled to it. She'll start wondering where you are, what you're doing, who you're becoming. Because the silence between moments isn't empty, it's charged with meaning. She'll replay your words, reanalyze your tone, look for signs. Why? Because the absence of constant attention forces her to reflect, and that reflection builds emotional momentum. Don't seek to fill every gap. Let the space work for you. Because in that space, she starts to realize something powerful. She misses you. Not because you said a lot, but because you left something unsaid. And that unsaid space? That's where mystery breathes. The eighth trait of a man who is mysterious without playing games is his mastery of emotional control, not just during chaos, but during connection. Most men spill their emotions early. They overshare, hoping that vulnerability will build intimacy. But mystery isn't born from exposure. It's born from restraint. It's not about hiding who you are. It's about revealing it, gradually, with intention. When you open up too fast, you eliminate tension. You take away the process of discovery. And in attraction, discovery is everything. It's the slow unraveling of who you are that keeps her engaged. The Stoic man understands that emotions are powerful, but only when delivered with precision. So instead of telling her everything, he lets his energy speak. He gives glimpses, a pause before responding, a knowing look instead of an explanation, a story shared only when it's earned, not dumped to gain approval. This creates a subtle challenge. She senses depth, but she has to earn access to it. And the more she has to earn, the more invested she becomes. This isn't manipulation, it's masculine containment. You are in control of what you share, when you share, and why. Because your emotional world is sacred, not a tool to gain closeness, but a place she wants to be invited into. When she senses that your emotions aren't on display for everyone, that they're reserved, intentional, and grounded, she doesn't just respect you more, she craves to know more, to feel more, to see more. And that craving, that curiosity, that's what turns presence into obsession. Mysterious men also command space, not just physical space, but energetic space. They don't rush, they don't chase, and they don't fill silence with noise. Their presence alone speaks louder than most men's words. Think about it. When a man walks into a room and doesn't immediately seek attention but still gets it, there's something magnetic happening. It's not about arrogance, it's about stillness, ownership, gravity. This is where many men go wrong. They think being mysterious means being distant or cold. But true mystery is about self-possession. It's about being so anchored in who you are that you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to broadcast your personality. You let the moment come to you, and women feel that. When she asks a question and you pause before answering, not to play games, but because you're present, she leans in. When you don't rush to entertain, she wonders what's behind that quiet confidence. When you don't overshare, she starts filling in the blanks. And that's where emotional engagement begins. Because mystery isn't about being hard to read, it's about creating emotional space. Room for her imagination to move, for her curiosity to grow, for her attraction to build. You don't need to manipulate to be mysterious. You just need to stop trying to be understood by everyone. And when she feels like she's slowly uncovering who you are, piece by piece, moment by moment, she doesn't just feel interested, she feels captivated. One of the most powerful aspects of being mysterious is emotional unpredictability, not in a chaotic or manipulative way, but in a grounded, stoic way that keeps her guessing. You're not always available. You don't always explain your thoughts. You don't always react the same way twice. And because of that, you're impossible to categorize. You don't fit a pattern. And that unsettled curiosity, that's what keeps her emotionally invested. Most men are emotionally predictable. They laugh too easily, agree too quickly, and reveal too much too soon. They make themselves known in the first 5 minutes, and after that, there's nothing left to uncover. But the Stoic man reveals himself in layers, slowly, deliberately, and only when the moment earns it. This makes every interaction with you feel alive. She can't script it. She doesn't know what to expect. And in that uncertainty, she becomes more present, more attuned, more asterisk open. Being mysterious isn't about being emotionally distant. It's about being emotionally textured. You have a full range, calm, humorous, serious, deep. But you don't give it away all at once. You reveal what's needed, nothing more. That emotional restraint is rare, and rare is unforgettable. Because the man who doesn't give it all away isn't holding back. He's holding frame. And the more she feels like she has to earn access to your inner world, the more deeply she wants to enter it. Another key to being mysterious without playing games is having a life that speaks louder than your words. Most men rely on conversation to create attraction. They talk too much. They overshare. They hope their words will impress her enough to earn her attention. But here's the truth. A mysterious man doesn't need to say much because his life already says everything. When you're busy with purpose, building something, training, learning, leading, you naturally become mysterious. You don't have time to be constantly explaining yourself because you're already in motion. And that motion creates intrigue. She starts to wonder, where does he go? What drives him? Who is he when I'm not around? That curiosity is magnetic because it shifts the dynamic. You're not trying to entertain her. She's trying to understand you. And the more she wonders, the more she invests. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you are hard to get. Not emotionally unavailable, but emotionally prioritized. You've made your mission the main character of your life, and that makes her want a role in your story. So if you want to be mysterious, stop talking so much about what you're going to do and start living in a way that makes her ask, "What else don't I know about this man?" Because when your presence creates more questions than answers, you don't just attract her curiosity. You become the man she can't stop thinking about. The most overlooked element of mystery is your ability to hold emotional tension without rushing to relieve it. Here's what most men do. The moment things feel uncertain, the moment there's silence, a delay in her reply, a strange look, or a pause in conversation, they panic. They fill the space. They explain. They over-clarify. They rush to fix what was never broken. But mystery lives in the unknown. And the man who can sit calmly inside that unknown, who doesn't chase answers, who doesn't fear discomfort, becomes magnetic. Because now she has to come to you. She starts leaning in, asking questions, testing waters. Because you didn't give her the entire story. You didn't unravel yourself in one sitting. You didn't rush to be understood. You stood. And in that stillness, she doesn't just feel tension. She wants to explore it. This is how a Stoic man leads emotionally, not by controlling others, but by mastering his own energy. He doesn't react. He lets things unfold. He allows others to reveal themselves first. When you don't rush to label the relationship, when you don't flinch in silence, when you don't break eye contact just because it feels intense, you create a space that feels rare, deep, almost sacred. And that's the difference between the man she talks to and the one she never forgets. Mystery isn't about hiding who you are. It's about revealing with purpose. It's about knowing that your presence is already powerful, and that the more you allow people to uncover you slowly, the deeper the connection becomes. The Stoic man doesn't overshare. He doesn't over-explain. He doesn't try to win affection by being transparent too soon. He understands that his silence speaks, his restraint reveals, and his energy says everything before he says a word. That's what makes him mysterious. It's not a game. It's a discipline. He moves with intention. He speaks with weight. He listens more than he speaks. He doesn't chase connection. He creates it by being fully grounded in who he is. And here's the truth. Most men think being mysterious means being distant, unavailable, or cold. But that's not mystery. That's insecurity. Real mystery comes from depth, from layers, from a man who doesn't need to be known instantly because he knows himself deeply. So, if you want to embody Stoic mystery without games, say less but mean more. Reveal slowly but intentionally. Stay calm in tension. Be fully present without always being available. Let her feel your energy, not your eagerness. Because when you master this, you don't just attract her attention, you keep it. Without chasing, without performing, without saying too much. Just by being exactly who you are, in full control, with nothing to prove. This is the art of Stoic masculine mystery. This is marble masculinity. Stay silent, stay sovereign, stay unforgettable.